What?
You know, son?
What?
It's fun to be red!
Oh, Blade of Ret proc!
Ooh, Seraphim proc!
Oh, Divine Purpose, baby!
Hey man, with all these procs, you know what time it is?
Oh, I know what time it is!
Proc party!
Ooh, baby, yeah, baby! It's proc party! Bitchy!
Do you think we need stuff like Terrans, tier sets, covenants, rotations, and more?
And of course, you cannot have a proper party without proper attire. And what better way to rock out your WoW love and a little bit of Marcelian love, I'll be honest, than with our merch. Check it out, it's pretty cool, man. You see this and shit? We have a lot more models and a lot more designs on a lot of other stuff than just a hoodie. You can get it on laptop cases, phone cases, bags, stickers, mugs, all of that with the MarcelianOnline brand and logo and cool ass design. And of course, you'll be getting some cool swag, but you will also be supporting us and the content that we do for you and making it possible for us to keep doing content in the future for you. So if you want this awesome fucking merch for you as well in different shades, different colors, different items, different logos, then check the link down below to our merch page and browse at your leisure. Your retribution adventures will start with Zeal on the first talent row. This will provide you with stacks of increased attack speed when using Judgment on top of increasing your damage. It will stack up to 9 times when using the Curing Covenant ability and will synergize very well with both tier set bonuses as they are activated from Art of War. The other options can be useful in single target situations before you get your tier set bonus, but at this point that shouldn't be a problem anymore. On the second row again, you will use Blade of Wrath in every situation after you get the tier set bonus. With it, your Art of War will have double the chance to proc and will also increase the damage of Blade of Wrath. This will be very good in AoE as the 4 set bonus will refresh the cooldown of Wake of Ashes, so you can make Tyrion proud. He cleansed the Ashbringer. On the first utility row, all options are viable, but you will end up using Fist of Justice most of the time when you want your single target stunned more often. But take into consideration fights with lots of undead mobs, as usually the DR will most likely come into play when using Wake of Ashes a lot. In those cases, use Blinding Light to disorient all enemies around. Very useful when you want to just interrupt a group of mobs that cast all at once or if they are immune to silence. On your second utility row, use the Unbreakable Spirit when not a lot of movement is involved. This will actually be a DPS increase sometimes thanks to the reduced cooldown on Shield of Vengeance, but it will also increase your defensive powers, reducing the cooldown on Lay on Hands and Divine Shield as well. When more mobility is needed, go with Cavalier. It will double the amount of ponies you can use, synergizing further with Light's Barding Conduit as well. The last option can be used when you take constant physical damage, but those situations are very rare in this tier. On the level 40 row, Divine Purpose will be the go-to in most of the situations after you have acquired the 2 set bonus and even before if you'd like some RNG. You will already have high uptime on Seraphim and thanks to Divine Purpose, you'll have a chance when you consume Holy Power to make your next Holy Power free and have increased damage and healing. On the healing talent row, only 2 options are viable. Selfless Healer will reduce Flash of Light's cast time and increase its healing, stacking up until its instant cast. Despite this being weaker than the other option, it is still better to go for since it doesn't make you lose DPS. The other option is Healing Hands. With it, your Word of Glory will heal more and your Lay on Hands will have reduced cooldown based on the missing health of the target that you use it on. This will be considered a DPS loss as you will have to use Holy Power on Word of Glory instead of your Templar's Verdict or Divine Storm in order to benefit from this talent. On the last row, Sanctified Wrath will take the cake for the best all-around talent. It will increase the duration of Avenging Wrath, and every Holy Power spender used during Avenging will also explode, hitting every enemy without having any target soft cap. This option will synergize with Divine Purpose, will be very powerful in AoE, long cleave windows, and is a must-have especially with the tier set. In order for you to find what the best stats for this patch are, you will have to sim your character. And don't worry, because we got you covered with our simming video explaining all the details of the process. If you don't want to be bothered with simming your character, you will still want as much strength as possible, so always equip the highest level piece of gear, with some minor exceptions that go to rings, necks, and trinkets. Next, you will want haste as the best secondary stat, while the other stats, mastery, versatility, and critical strikes, will be very close to each other, with higher level gear tending towards more mastery. When choosing your enchants on your weapons, use a Sinful Revelation one for pure single target raid situations and swap to Celestial Guidance in mixed content. On your chest, the Eternal Skirmish one will be the go-to, usually in single target fights, otherwise swap to the Eternal Stats, which is very good in high level content. And don't forget the Heavy Desolate Armor kit, as with extra stamina comes more alive uptime. For your cloak, usually the Fortified Avoidance will be the pick in high level content, but if you don't fear AoE damage, you can essentially swap to any other enchant you prefer. For your gloves, the one and only pick will be the Eternal Strength enchant, because more strength will always be appreciated. For your sockets, use the Quick Jewel Cluster for more haste, same goes for the Tenet of Haste enchant, and if Sims recommend otherwise, swap to that counterpart. The Flask of Power will be the only flask you will need this expansion because of the extra strength it provides. And for stronger burst windows, use the Potion of Spectral Strength. Additionally, on your weapons, you can use the Shaded Sharpening Stone and Shaded Weight Stones add-ons to deal extra damage thanks to the attack power they provide. When hunger kicks in, calm it with the Feast of Gluttonous Hedonism for extra main stat. And if you cannot get the feast, just use the Tenebros Crown Roast aspect for extra haste or the counterpart recommended by your Sims. You can run from the blue, but you cannot hide, as this patch, again, the Kyrians are the best. Their Covenant ability Divine Toll will send out at least 5 hammers away from you that will deal double damage, and thanks to your Covenant Conduit and the Unity legendary spell, this will be even better. The signature ability Summon Steward will provide you with the Phial of Serenity, amongst other things that he can do. This special phial will be a health stone with 3 charges that will clear all your bleeds, curses, diseases, and poisons. Your Soulbind buddy will be Forge Light Prime Mechanicos this time around. With his 3 potency conduits path, you will have access to some pretty neat traits. Brawn's Call to Action will be the first in his arsenal, and it will summon Brawn after using a number of spells or abilities. When Brawn will arrive on the battlefield, your enemies will be knocked back, and he will damage them or heal your allies the entire stay. The next notable trait will be Soul Glow Spectrometer, and it will provide you with some priority damage if used properly. Finally, you will get the Effusive Anima Accelerator that will attach a small AoE to your Divine Toll and will reduce its duration according to the number of enemies hit. Honorable mentions go to the Necrolords, as in some single target fights they have the potential to come close to the Kyrians and even overtake them when facing 2 targets. And if you want to simp for a better DPS from your group, then the Night Phase will be the choice. Following the path recommended by us, you will need to use some conduits, clearly. The first potency one that you will need will be the Covenant-specific one, Ringing Clarity. With it, your Divine Toll will have an enormous chance to hit your main target 3 extra times. Next, you will usually want Virtuous Command for every situation as your second pick. This will make you deal extra holy damage for a while after you casted a Judgment. As your third pick for single target situations, go with Templar's Vindication, and your Templar's Verdict will have a big chance to hit twice for less damage on the second hit. In AoE, swap this with Truth's Wake, and now your Wake of Ashes will leave a dot on all of the target's hits. And if you are not Kyrian, you can swap the Covenant-specific conduit with Expurgation and hope for your Blade of Justice to crit, so that it will leave a dot on your target as well. For your Endurance conduits, you can choose between Condensed Anima Sphere and Neat Self-Heal when taking constant damage. As an alternative, you can go with the Golden Path in order to make your Consecration heal you when standing in it. The third choice will be Shielding Wards, and it's the only one that can affect your DPS, as it requires you to use the Holy Power for Word of Glory to shield you for a portion of its heal. In the finesse slots, Light's Barding will usually be the first to think of, as the extra mobility it comes with will help you in many situations. For the second pick, you can go with Echoing Blessings in order to make your blessings of protection, sacrifice, and freedom grant reduced damage taken or a little movement speed respectively. For your trinket slots, as most of the classes, you will prefer one on use and one passive trinket. The one on use to rule them all will be the first sigil in dispatch from the Pantheon boss in the raid, rewarding you with a huge versatility buff on a very long cooldown. As an alternative, you can go with the inscrutable quantum device from the other side dungeon. The randomness of this trinket can also push you to take the overwhelming power crystal instead, also from the same dungeon, for the extra crit it provides when used at the cost of a little health. From the last raid, Sylvanas drops the Old Warrior's Soul trinket, which is still very viable and strong thanks to the stacking haste buff it provides until you come out of combat. If you didn't play that patch, or if you don't, do faded raids, you have an alternative in the Elegy of Eternals from the Pantheon boss. It gives secondary stats according to the highest rating you have, sharing a portion with your mates from the same covenant and party. And again, an alternative to the Elegy will be Solia's secret technique from the new Tazavesh dungeon. The Solia's Gambit one to be more precise. As the best weapon you can find, you will try to hunt down the Jailer for his Gavel of the First Arbiter, a very special weapon that can give you 1 out of 5 possible effects and will increase your damage by a lot. If you cannot get this weapon, any max high level 1 from the vault will do the trick. And from the same boss, the Jailer, you can also take the World Killer Iris, a very special necklace that comes with the highest high level you can find and will give you 3 secondary stats instead of 2. At this point, you should be done already with the Zereth Mortis campaign, and if you are not, then just do it so you can wear 2 legendaries. The first one will be Unity, providing you with the effect of your Covenant specific legendary. The campaign will reward you with a Unity belt, but if you want it on other slots, just hit Revered with Enlightened and unlock the recipe to craft it. For your second legendary, you have some choices, starting with Final Verdict. This will be the pure single target legendary option you will want on your cloak. This legendary will replace your Templar's Verdict with Final Verdict, dealing more damage. It can be used from further away, and it has a small chance to let you use your Hammer of Wrath, resetting its cooldown if it is already on cooldown. For AoE, swap to the Tempest of the Lightbringer, build it on your waist or leg slots if you have all 5 tier set pieces, and your Divine Storm will send a light wave in front of you for a fair amount of damage. For mixed fights like in dungeons or some boss fights, you can go with Vanguard's Momentum. To do decent in AoE and a little better single target, build it on your feet slot for 1 extra charge of Hammer of Wrath that will provide you a stacking holy damage buff. The other decent alternative will be the Magistrate's Judgment. Build it on your finger or wrist slot to get a huge chance when using Judgment to reduce the cost of your next Holy Power spender by 1. Your tier set will come with some neat bonuses that will make your spec very fun and rewarding. Firstly, the 2 set bonus will give you 4 seconds of Seraphim every time Art of War activates, and this will happen very often thanks to the Blade of Wrath talent. The 4 set bonus will push your AoE and also single target even further, as your Art of War will have a big chance to reset the cooldown of Wake of Ashes instead of Blade of Justice. All in all, a very big win for the Paladins. The rotation will be simplified a lot thanks to the tier set, as you will move away from the heavy burst rotation. Taking this into consideration, you'll get a basic opener and rotation for single target and AoE fights as Kyrian without the burst talent. If you want to check the burst rotation, you can still check our 9.1.5 guide, as it is still useful to this day if you don't have the tier set or you just want to be a burst machine. With this in mind, your opener and single target will have you use Judgment on pool, Blade of Justice next, activate Avenging Wrath, Potion, Rituals and Trinkets, Templar's Verdict next, use Wake of Ashes, Templar's Verdict again, cast Divine Toll, and another Templar's Verdict, and then you continue with your normal priority. Your single target priority will have you use Avenging Wrath on cooldown with 3 or more Holy Power, Templar's Verdict if you are about to cap on Holy Power, Divine Toll if your target doesn't have the Judgment debuff, Wake of Ashes on cooldown, Judgment next, Hammer of Wrath if available, Blade of Justice if you have 3 or fewer Holy Powers, Crusader Strike if you have 2 charges, Templar's Verdict on 3 or 4 Holy Power, Consecration on cooldown, Crusader Strike as a filler. Your multi-target opener and rotation will change very little from your single target one. You will replace Templar's Verdict with Divine Storm while prioritizing always having Consecration under you and hold Divine Toll if more enemies are about to come. And this is the red guide going into the next couple of months of Shadowlands. It's going to be pretty good, not a lot will change in Season 4, and if there will be any changes, we will have some pinned comments down below. Thank you majorly to Bolas for reviewing and making sure that our decent guide of Ret is even more decent for you, so you get the proper information. And if you want to check him out, and everybody that has a big brain when it comes to Ret Paladin, check the Hammer of Wrath Discord, where you can even get into more advanced tactics and mastering your Ret by asking, your questions and getting feedback from very high skilled players. Thank you to the patrons for supporting the channel and making all of this possible. You guys fucking rock. You are amazing. We love you so much. You essentially breathe life into us and make everything that we do a reality. And if you, dear viewer, want to support us a little bit more, you can check the Patreon link down below, also with the merch link, and see if there's something that sparks your interest, and you will be supporting us. We'll be eternally grateful. Thank you for watching the video. See you next time.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.